this is China? Everywhere I went, this is China? I expected to see people wearing Mao suits and looking sad because they were communists. That's really what I expected. And I was not greeted with that at all.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the BizDev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I'm David Baxter, your host, and I'm joined, per usual, by Mr. Gary Voigt. I joined you today in black. I felt moody.
Nice.
Thank you.
No, it's a good look. It's the best color.
Is it the best color? Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Yep.
More importantly, we are joined today by Duane Kennedy, who is the CEO and founder of Dai Biao Consulting. Hello, sir. Welcome to our little show.
Hello, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
So you are the expert in China. That's a pretty good title to have nowadays.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, I got back here in 2023 after the pandemic, and it seems like the United States just has a different impression take on China. So it's very interesting. So some people are awed by it. Some people are repulsed by it. So I don't know.
Were you in China during the pandemic?
Yes, I was. That's
they took it serious. Right? That's its own thing. Yeah.
I was going to say, we got that.
Yeah, they take it very serious. Not only the government, but society as a whole. You don't come across people that are rebelling against any of the policies or anything that was required, which was interesting to me because I was like, in the United States, this
no fights in a 7-Eleven because someone's not wearing a mask.
Oh, no problem. We were wearing masks in China before the pandemic.
Well, yeah, they've been wearing masks. They wear masks a lot anyway. But I've always been told it's for air pollution reasons. Is that true, or did they wear?
That's true.
Okay,
it's true. And so you were, as a foreigner, first getting there, you laugh. What are you people doing? Why are you got a mask on? But China has a way of creating certain business models that become adapted eventually in the world. It's amazing. So mask wearing, I saw it years before the pandemic. I used to laugh at people when I'd see them, like, what are wrong with these people? And then wearing a mask became universal, ubiquitous, right? All over the world, people were wearing masks. So China was just like,
and they do it often as a courtesy if anybody's ill.
Yes, if anybody's sick, that is correct.
Yeah. So let's back up for a second. How did you, an American, come to become an expert on China? You've been doing this for a long time.
I have.
How did that love affair begin? Because that's the only way I could describe it. If you've done this that long, that's the only way to describe it. You must love that country.
And clarify what David means by expert on China, not the history of China or anything like that. You
just youth marketing. My focus and specialty dealt with the youth consumer in China.
Okay.
Youth marketing, youth branding, youth consumer. Long story. I didn't know anything about China before I went. My background was with Wall Street and in telecom as well. And what made me want to go take a look at China was Warren Buffett. Because I believe, and I need to check this, I believe in 96 or 97 or maybe 98, Warren Buffett said, if you are a decent sized U.S. company and you don't have a China story in 20 years, you'll regret it. And that comment always stuck with me. Wow. Why would this guy say that? Because at that point in time, China just wasn't really on the radar screen for many people, at least in the United States. And it made me curious. So I was living in LA at the time, and I had a couple of friends that were Chinese and Taiwanese that were born in LA and subsequently after college got jobs in China. And keeping in touch with them, they're like, yeah, come on. If you're interested, come out, take a look. I think you'll be surprised at what. So that started the process, visiting a couple of good friends. And that first initial trip, which took place in August of 2004, was mind-blowing.
So that, if putting that in perspective, that was relatively early days in their economic explosion.
Correct. I couldn't have time getting to China any better because it had developed enough so it was comfortable for someone like me to come in and experience it, but still there was a lot of growth that was left to be done. And
Was that
uh-huh.
also during the time where the like Hong Kong was incorporating more into
That was
mainland
1999.
when it comes to this? That's when the deal was up in
That's
99, but
when,
it took a
yeah,
while for
the
the
handover. You're talking about
economies to mesh. Yeah.
the handover in 97. At this time, when I got to China, Hong Kong was still the big stick,
Yeah.
right? Everything still went through Hong Kong, the baking, a lot of the manufacturing was still going on through Hong Kong. Most of the business element of China was Hong Kong back when I got there. Now, of course, had developed into Shanghai, Beijing, and whatnot, but
Yeah.
Hong Kong still was the hub. You still wanted to experience Hong Kong, check out Hong Kong, do business in Hong Kong. My bank accounts were in Hong Kong. And then that, of course, shifted during the time that I was in China.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was asking about.
As an American, as a business owner, right? I mean, this is a business focused
Mhm.
podcast.
Yep.
As entrepreneurship and all of that, what do Americans have wrong about China?
From a business perspective, I can answer this question two ways, but from a business perspective, what Americans have wrong about China is feeling what works in America will work in China. Totally different culture. And I'll give you an example of a well-known company so it resonates with you. The culture is different. The visuals are different in China, the cadence, the tone, everything is different. So what American companies or foreign companies make the mistake, as I see, coming into China is not studying the market extensively. What they do is, we've got a product that's been successful internationally. Of course, the China market wants it. And that's the attitude that they come in with. And a lot of times they fail. Because what resonates with us and Americans or Europeans does not resonate in China. So the first mistake that I see companies make is not understanding who they're marketing to or what their product is that they need to adjust and how to adjust it. They just don't take that seriously. There's an arrogance coming into the market. That's number one. Go ahead.
Well, so I'm on that point. So I'm thinking of Coca-Cola, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coca-Cola is one of those companies, probably one of the very few in the world, that you can go anywhere in the world and you can buy a Coke.
Correct.
What is it that they're doing right that I mean, it's still Coke. It's the same product. I don't think that they have Chinese Coke. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, for all I understand, it's always Coke. They might have, subsidiaries that are different things, but there's Coke, right? How did they, as an example, did they just market it better and say, hey, we understand the Chinese market. Clearly they're successful. We understand the Chinese market. We're going to figure out a way to sell this same beverage to a new market. Or did they have to adjust the beverage to the market?
No, Coca-Cola didn't adjust the beverage to the market. What they did not do was switch to fructose when Coca-Cola switched over from real sugar to fructose, because Coca-Cola is a lot sweeter in China than it is here in the U.S. But
They're
I
it's
think,
like Mexican Coke. It's full sugar. Is that? I call it
yes.
Mexican Coke because I'm Texan.
You-
Sorry,
uh,
that's what I'm calling it there. But
But
it's
it's
full
true.
sugar.
Yes,
Yeah.
they use cane
yes,
sugar
yes,
in other countries.
correct. What I think Coca-Cola is like unique. It's hard to utilize that as an example
That's fair.
because they
Yeah, they're
got
a
in
gigantic
early.
corporation.
Yeah, they got it in the early 1900s when nobody really knew what marketing was about. It's hard to say. You've got to use another example for success in China in terms of a brand, a large international brand like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is a one-off, man.
That's
You
fair.
you said you had one.
I was going to give you an example of a brand that failed.
Oh, that's
Hey,
fine.
that works too.
I was international. I hope it's such a litigious time now. I hope I don't get sued, but I'll give you an example. Mattel. And Mattel is pretty much a global brand. The
Sure.
Barbie doll, it's all over the
Oh, yeah.
world. And I do believe that a lot of the Mattel product is manufactured in China. So Mattel decided to open a flagship store in Shanghai. And this thing was incredible. It was 5 stories. It had a large cafe. It had, of course, retail. It had a museum of history of the Barbie doll. It had a rooftop bar dining area. It was incredible. Mattel pulled a lot of money in this flagship store. Very expensive, had a grand opening that I attended. And you felt you are just looking at, oh, okay, Mattel, they've got this doll. They're doing this huge amount of marketing with this building. Of course, it'll be successful. Flopped. That store was closed within 2
Mm. So
years.
what was it that they did wrong?
Was it the communication?
They just didn't
or-
want Barbie at all? Did they just, what was it?
I
In a
think
nutshell.
that, to me, I think that Mattel came in saying, we're Mattel. So we got a product successful internationally. Of course, you're going to want this product, China. We know that you want it. So that was an arrogance that they didn't do their homework on how to adjust their product, their messaging, the visuals for the China market. There had to be an adjustment, and what exactly that would be, I'm not sure. I don't know if you would I don't think it would be cost effective to build a China Barbie doll for the China market. I don't think that was the way to approach it, but the way to approach it was better understanding how this Barbie doll would resonate in the China market from a retail perspective, as well as a perspective of building a flagship store that tourists coming in are going to want to go to, as well as the local market. And it was mind-boggling to see this store fail so quickly. And I say 2 years is a stretch. I think it lasted maybe 14 months, to be quite honest with you. Yeah.
Could it be that their arrogance was not, it was considered disrespectful?
No, I just think that when I got there, like I said, I got there since 04, and I noticed whether it's American companies that came and were not successful or European firms. The problem was not effectively understanding the local market well enough, not doing that homework. They always relied on the strength of their product or their reputation in the international world and felt that was enough to come in and launch, and they would, hey, if we bring it here, you'll come. And that's not what happened.
So going back to you in Dai Biao,
Yeah.
give me more insight as to what you specifically do. From what I'm understanding is I'm assuming an American company. I have a product. I want to target Chinese youth. You're my guy. Is that it?
Yeah, quite frankly. I came during a period where China was coming into this incredible growth period. So there were lots of spaces and blanks in how to do things in terms of marketing, brand positioning, product positioning, right? All those things weren't fully baked into China yet. So when I first went there and looked around, first of all, I was blown away because China was very international. I did not expect the infrastructure to be what it was. The roads, the bridges, they were building fast trains and metro. I wasn't expecting all that. I kept going around saying the same stupid question over again. This is China? Everywhere I went, this is China? I expected to see people wearing Mao suits and looking sad because they were communists. That's really what I expected. And I was not greeted with that at all.
That
All right,
reminds
so that's-
me, when I was growing up in Texas, a lot of the big CEOs and companies were moving down. JCPenney's, when I was a kid, moved down to North Dallas. And a lot of the people from New York thought we all rode horses everywhere. In
Correct.
Dallas,
Cowboy
like a
hats, yeah.
massive city. So, but now in China, is that true everywhere, or is that just the major cities? From in my ignorance, I see China as a few or several, I'm not sure how many, massive cities, and then large swaths of rural relative poverty. Is that not accurate? Is that an incorrect view?
That's accurate to a limited degree.
Okay.
It was a lot more accurate when I first got there, but it's not now. Tell me what you feel the population of New York City is.
Oh, it's like 9 million.
Okay, 8, 9 million. That's a tier 2/tier 3 city in China.
Yeah. I've heard that. What is it? Is
Okay.
it Shanghai is like 25 million?
No, sir. Shanghai is 35 million.
Whew. Now, okay, so put that
I
in
don't even
perspective.
comprehend that.
How New York is unusual in that it physically is pretty small, right? It's a ton of people stacked on top of each other. So are the Chinese cities similar to that, where there's tons of people stacked, or are they geographically
No.
large cities?
They're large. They're geographically large cities.
Okay.
There's space. There's room. Yeah.
Okay.
There's sprawl. Trust me. There's a lot of sprawl.
Now, is it like America? Now, it's hard to say because we don't have no city is close to that in America. But in our world,
No.
we have very commonly the hub and spoke, right, of our cities, right? Big inner city, massive sprawl to smaller suburbs. Now, obviously, with the numbers like that, but do they follow something similar with just, I mean, the suburbs would still be in the millions, but do they have that concept? And it's just,
Yeah.
the sprawl is just forever?
No, you have a city center typically with your Chinese cities. You have a hub, right, where your banking, now your tech companies, your insurance companies, where the business center is. You have that. And then the sprawl really leads out to residential. But you also have businesses out there as well. You have buildings and business and commerce out that way. I don't know, I've never seen anything else like it.
Big Pixel builds world-class custom software and amazing apps. Our team of pros puts passion into every one of our projects. Our design-infused development leans heavily on delivering a great experience for our clients and their clients. From startups to enterprises, we can help craft your ideas into real-world products that help your business do better business.
What would you say if I was one of those companies, relatively, and probably not small company, international in that case, but let's say I'm a smaller side and I'm trying to get into China, into that youth market specifically? What would be your advice?
Know your customer before you make a move. Number one, you have to do that. You've got to do your study. When I first came to China and looked around, I came out to China twice in 2004. The first time I was there, I stayed 2.5 weeks. The second time I went to China, I stayed 2 months. And then I was in first quarter of 2005 and I stayed 3. Just doing market research, on the ground, looking around, having meetings with brands, trying to understand. And I knew those trips weren't enough. So when I decided, I really want to do something in China, the first thing I thought about was, well, who will my client be? Who am I trying to sell to? I saw that the youth market I felt was underserved because China was going through a process of becoming or building a middle class when I got there. And this was still somewhat very, because in China before you had the have-nots and the have-nots. Then it began to shift. You began to have wealthy and then the have-nots. And there wasn't really a middle. The middle class was burgeoning just a bit. And then you have these kids that are like, okay, well, we've got access to disposable income now, allowance from our parents give us money, but there's really nobody developing anything for us. And that's where I saw my opportunity, service that. So to answer your question, I figured, okay, I need to start having but I think it's something that I can develop a business around. So let me make sure I'm correct about that. So I did several focus group studies before I even created the business and went into the marketplace. I think that made all the difference because I was like, okay, I now have versus me bringing a product or a widget. Isn't this great? Don't you want this? Nah, I didn't do it that way.
But you're the shortcut, right? If I'm the new brand trying to get over to China for the first time, I hire you as the shortcut because it's hard
I'm
for
the
me to get
shortcut
that.
now.
Right? Yeah, now, sure, yeah.
I'm the shortcut now because why? I went through the trial and tribulation and trying to get it right. I mean, I failed, right? I mean, entry into the China market. I still had bumps and bruises. And based on that, I'm the shortcut now because of what I had to go through and the lessons that I had to learn in which I can impart upon you. That's the difference.
Expertise David was
Yes,
talking about
that's
at
it.
the beginning. What do you see as far as like what do you find commonly trying to go ahead and sell and distribute within China, especially to the youth market? Is it more like cultural, like entertainment, music, fashion? What kind of
fashion? Yes,
industries?
of course, fashion, music, and entertainment. Not as much because those areas are heavily predominant. Again, something that I didn't realize when I was coming there. When I first came to China, my first launch of a company was a media company, Dai Biao Media, which happened was I was able to convince several of the U.S. major record companies to give me access to sell into China on a online platform. And in support of that, I was in touch with recording artists that were interested in coming to China, creating concerts and things of that nature to help support what I was doing as well, give visibility to who they were, their brand, their music, their product, everything. I'm pitching, I can get you access to China. China doesn't operate like the U.S. You know, China has a Ministry of Culture. That Ministry of Culture can either green light or not green light a concert or that artist that you want to position for that concert. Western influences based on the profanity, background, if they have a criminal history. I mean, my being there, you know?
So when you said all David heard was Ministry of Magic, so he's in
okay.
Harry Potter. But
Rude.
so if I were a client coming to you to get my product into China, the checkmark system or like top 3 things that you do as like a test to see if even before you worry about like who you're marketing to, like just 3 things that'll fit.
Yeah, I have what's called for example, the first thing I want to determine is, okay, what is your product? Okay. If it's not anything incendiary, it's not porn or something like that, then I feel that if it's anything around fashion, if it's anything around food, and those things are relatively safe. Now it's just about how to position your product accurately place. Even something like when Bitcoin took off in China was tenuous because the Chinese government wasn't so on that. But I had a good sense of, depending on what the product was, since if it legally, without a lot of government issues could come up. I had a sense of that from being on the ground well enough. So again, your question is, if you get with the product off the hand, okay, that's workable. You want to do t-shirts, you want to do tennis shoes, even though we got a lot of competition, you want to bring a toy, that's workable. And so from that standpoint, I would look at, the second thing I would look at is, how do you want your corporate makeup to be, or your background? Because China, when you come in, you have to determine, are you going to be a JV with a Chinese company? Or are you going to be able to be what's called a WFI, a wholly foreign enterprise, where you have 100% IP and it's you, and you don't have to share your information within another company? I mean, I saw so many foreign companies, which is the way to do it, but they would have issues with their local partner, the JV partner, because that partner has access to their product. And that's the scary thing in China, because you don't know what they're doing, or it creates headaches, or they're going to take your product and market another way. Lots of horror stories around that. So I would determine, I would say, oh, you're going to want to go the Woofy route, wholly owned foreign to figure out it could work with. That's the thing. Really going this would allow me to immediately particular client that wants to come into the China market.
Okay. Now, as an entrepreneur starting this, I'm sure you had ups and downs trying to figure this out for yourself.
Yeah.
You said you were there for a little while and you saw the market. Could you give us 3 pieces of advice that might help or
Coming into
assist
China?
a new entrepreneur?
Yeah, I can. Number one,
Yeah.
understand it's. Yeah, no. I would,
Or
this-
just in
this
general,
is-
just
this is
as a business owner,
transferable
but yeah,
in
specifically
China or outside
China's
of
your
China.
expertise.
Know your customer, KYC,
Okay.
inside and out. That means not focus on your product. Know who you're trying to sell your product to. That's what's most important, because, as I said, foreign companies seem to have an arrogance. We've got this great product. China is a third world country, which is really not. And the market, they're going to go nuts for it. So know your customer, number one. Number two, patience. It takes time to build relationships in a foreign market. It takes time to not only build the relationships, but it takes time to understand, as I said previously in the podcast, the tone, the cadence, the feel of the local market, because it's going to be completely different from where you're coming from. And then number 3 is be ready to reinvent yourself. Business models change overnight in China. What was popular last week is out. And so you would see companies come in and have short-term success, do really well, and then the model changes so quickly. If that company wasn't keeping up with where the trend lines were going, then they were just out. And that's a hard, guys. I tell you, I'm sorry if I'm a little long. So many stories inside of me about China, around business, around just everything. I mean,
I could
I'm
talk
like-
to you for hours, but our audience isn't going to go.
yeah, prompt me, and then something comes out.
If anybody wants to learn more about you or Dai Biao Consulting, how could they reach out and get in touch?
They can reach me on LinkedIn. All my information is there. I usually do posts weekly. It's business, whether it's culture, whether it's, I try to stay away from politics, because I do want to be able to reach China with no.
Or return back to the
Because-
United States afterward.
Or get back to the United States now. I mean, God, my goodness, both. So yeah, LinkedIn is a great way to find me. I also have a Substack, and I'm going to be coming out with my own podcast, dealing with, entrepreneurial expert, pulling the curtains back on China myself, sharing stories very similar to what you guys are talking about, but a little different, more from my POV of life in China. Being a foreigner, celebrity, I was always invited to VIP events. I think in one of my LinkedIn posts, I talk about I went to the first NBA basketball game in China,
Wow.
in Shanghai. I've gone all high-level fashion shows, all the concerts. I've gone to, like I said, I was always invited to grand openings, because what China likes to do is show that they are becoming internationalized. So they'll want certain foreigners in the audience,
Okay.
when it's big events. So I was able to take advantage of that, being that I got to China, so early. And I came, Shanghai, I'm telling you, it's an amazing city. And I came in 2004. I came really at the very beginning of this Renaissance or golden era coming through now. And the foreigners came, because then they flooded, or China, I would say right around 2008. You have foreigners coming in from everywhere. Riffraff. They wanted to keep the good foreigners that were there working or entrepreneurs or packing and hanging around. They were like, okay, we got to figure out how to get you out of here before World Expo, which was 2010.
Well, I think that's all we have time for this week. But
Okay.
if anybody wants to learn
right.
more about your experience over there, check them out on LinkedIn and Wait for
Sure.
That podcast.
Please do. I hope to talk with you guys again. There's a lot left, lot of meat on the bone left to discuss.
Well, I appreciate your time, Duane. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it has. I enjoyed it. Truly.
Well, on that note, we are out. We will be back next week. Thank you, everybody.
That wraps up this episode of the BizDev Podcast. Thanks for listening. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email at hello@thebigpixel.net or connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, and LinkedIn. BizDev is a production of Big Pixel, a US-based provider of UX, design, strategy, and custom software. This podcast is edited by Matt McCracken, yes, that is his name, and me, Christy Pronto, marketing guru for Big Pixel.